Hey there, folks. So, let me tell you about how my peaceful little dream of living on a quiet farm turned into an absolute nightmare, thanks to one power-hungry HOA president who just couldn't mind her own business. 3 years ago, I finally made the move I'd been dreaming of for years. I bought this beautiful rustic farm out in the countryside, just a few acres of rolling hills, a tree line at the back, and this old metal gate at the entrance that had clearly seen better days. The house itself, yeah, it needed some love. But that was the plan, to fix it up little by little, take in the fresh air, and just live life on my own terms. No neighbors, no noise, no drama, just me and the land. It was my escape from the chaos of city life, and honestly, I couldn't have been happier. I'd spend my mornings fixing up the place, painting fences, clearing out brush, and planting my little garden. Afternoons were for sitting on the porch with a cold drink, watching the sun dip down behind the hills. It was pure bliss. And then, she showed up. It was the day I was unloading the last of my moving boxes when I heard gravel crunching behind me. Turning around, I saw this middle-aged woman strutting up my driveway. Blonde hair perfectly styled, wearing this bright pink cardigan that just screamed suburban superiority. She introduced herself as Karen, the president of the HOA from the subdivision about half a mile away. She flashed me this overly cheerful smile that was just way too much. "We like to keep the neighborhood looking nice," she said, gesturing vaguely toward the line of cookie-cutter houses in the distance. I just nodded, not really sure where she was going with it. I told her, politely, that my property wasn't part of the HOA since it was completely outside their boundaries. She just laughed, like I'd made some adorable little mistake, and said, "Oh, of course, but it's always good to be a good neighbor." Yeah, that phrase would come back to haunt me. At the time, I didn't think much of it, just figured she was being nosy and overly friendly. I gave a half-hearted smile, thanked her for stopping by, and went back to unpacking. Little did I know, that was just the beginning of the most ridiculous battle I'd ever face. You won't believe the lengths she went to, and trust me, it gets wild. A few weeks went by, and honestly, I almost forgot about Karen. I was too busy fixing up the old gate, scraping off rust, putting on a fresh coat of paint. It wasn't much to look at, but it did its job, keeping the property secure and giving me some much-needed privacy. Just as I was finishing up, I heard that familiar crunch of gravel behind me. Turning around, I saw Karen again, standing there with that same overly sweet smile, holding a plate of cookies. "I thought I'd bring you these," she said, handing them over like she was some kind of welcome committee. I took the plate and thanked her, trying to be polite, but something about her just rubbed me the wrong way. Then she hit me with it, casually like it was nothing. She said, gesturing at the gate, "some of the folks in our neighborhood were wondering why it's locked. It's such a shame to keep such a lovely piece of land all closed off like that." I raised an eyebrow, trying to process what she just said. "Well, it's my private property. I like having my space." Her smile flickered, just for a split second, before bouncing right back. "Oh, of course, I just meant, it's such a beautiful area. People would love to take a walk or enjoy the view. You know, as good neighbors." There it was again. Good neighbors. I forced a polite laugh and mumbled something vague about liking my privacy. She nodded, but I could tell she wasn't happy with my answer. Before leaving, she dropped one more little hint. "If you ever want to make improvements to the property, the HOA has resources. We're always here to help." I shrugged it off, figuring she was just being a little pushy. But a few days later, things started getting weird. One evening, I was reviewing my security camera footage, just doing a routine check, when I saw something that made my stomach drop. There was Karen standing outside my gate at night, clipboard in hand, scribbling something down and glancing around like she was trying to avoid being seen. What the hell was she doing? I watched the footage again, trying to make sense of it. Maybe she was documenting something for the HOA. I didn't know, but it felt off. Then, it got even stranger. One Saturday afternoon, I was clearing some brush near the tree line when I heard voices. At first, I thought they were coming from the road, but no. There were two strangers just wandering through my property, pointing at things like they were on some kind of guided tour. "Excuse me," I called out, walking toward them. They jumped, clearly startled, before one of them, a woman probably in her 40s, stammered, "Oh, I'm so sorry. Karen said it would be fine. She told us you wouldn't mind if we took a quick walk around." My blood was boiling. "Karen said what? This is private property," I snapped. "She has no authority here. Please leave. Now." They mumbled apologies and practically tripped over themselves trying to get out of there. I just stood there, shaking with anger. Why the hell was Karen telling people they could just stroll through my land like it was a public park? I knew right then I couldn't let this slide. I needed answers, and fast. But little did I know, this was just the start of something way bigger than I could have imagined. I wasn't about to let Karen get away with this. No way. The next morning, I marched straight to the HOA office. I wasn't sure what I was going to say. My mind was racing with about a dozen angry speeches. But when I got there she was, Karen sitting at the front desk, flashing that fake smile like nothing had happened. "Oh, hi there," she chirped, like we were best friends. I didn't waste time on pleasantries. "We need to talk," I said, barely keeping my voice steady. "I caught two strangers trespassing on my property yesterday because you told them it was okay." Her smile wavered, just a little, but she recovered fast. "Oh, that must have been a misunderstanding," she replied, waving it off like it was nothing. "I might have mentioned your property in passing, but I never told anyone they could just wander in." My jaw clenched. She was lying, and doing a terrible job at it. "Karen, don't play games with me," I snapped. "I know you've been snooping around my gate at night too. I've got it on camera. What are you doing? Taking notes? Measuring something? What the hell is your problem?" Her eyes widened for a split second, like she hadn't expected me to catch that. But then she slipped right back into that phony cheerfulness. "I was just checking the boundaries. You know, for safety reasons. The neighborhood has certain standards, and—" I cut her off. "Your HOA has no jurisdiction on my land, Karen. None. So why are you acting like you own it?" She didn't answer. Just gave me that tight-lipped smile like she didn't have a single clue what I was talking about. I knew right then she wasn't going to admit anything. But that's when the letters started coming. At first, it was just a few. A little note here and there about improving community aesthetics or maintaining property standards. I almost ignored them until one letter caught my eye. "We've noticed that your property is not currently in compliance with HOA guidelines." Compliance? My property wasn't even part of the HOA. I tore through the letter, practically ripping it in half. It was full of legal jargon, something about my fence encroaching on community land, and demands to rectify the situation immediately. I was furious. This was an outright lie. I knew my property lines, had them checked when I bought the place, but Karen wasn't done. A few days later, another letter arrived. This one even more ridiculous than the last. It was a formal petition from the HOA members, demanding I reconsider allowing community access to my land. It was signed by Karen and a bunch of residents who probably had no idea what they were even signing. That was IT. I wasn't just angry anymore. I was ready to fight back. I hired a surveyor to recheck the boundaries, just to be absolutely sure. And guess what? Not only was my fence well within my property line, but their precious HOA landscaping, bushes, and a decorative sign was actually on my land. A smug smile crept onto my face. If Karen wanted a war, she was about to get one. I called a real estate attorney, explained the whole mess, and we put together a formal cease-and-desist letter. Not only did we demand they remove their landscaping from my property, but we also warned them to stop the harassment or face legal action. But I wasn't done. Not even close. I knew Karen wouldn't back down easily, and I was ready for whatever she threw at me next. Because if she thought she could bully me into handing over my land, she was about to find out just how wrong she was. And guess what, guys? Karen didn't see it coming. After my lawyer sent the cease and desist letter, everything went quiet. I almost thought she'd given up. But then, bam, one night, my cameras caught her again, sneaking around with a flashlight and a pair of bolt cutters. She was trying to take down my no trespassing signs. I called the sheriff immediately. They showed up just in time to catch her red-handed, claiming she was just inspecting the property lines. Yeah, right. The deputies didn't buy it, and she ended up with a trespassing citation, but it didn't stop there. The next day, I dropped the bomb. I posted all the evidence online: security footage, HOA letters, survey reports, everything. I tagged the HOA, the neighborhood group, and even the city council. The reaction? Pure chaos. People were outraged, especially HOA members who had no clue what Karen was doing behind their backs. The HOA board turned against her, and within a week, Karen resigned. Turns out she'd been misusing HOA funds to finance her little power trip. Oops. Now my land's back to being my land. No drama, no Karen, just peace and quiet, like it was supposed to be. But hey, what do you guys think? Have you ever dealt with a power-tripping HOA president or a crazy neighbor? Drop your stories in the comments, and if you like this wild ride, don't forget to hit that like button, smash subscribe, and ring that bell for more crazy stories just like this one. Catch you next time. Stay awesome.